All right, everything looks good. What's up, everyone? We are now live here. So let's pull up futures for now. Let's get people into the stream. Give it a few minutes before we get really going. If you have any quick questions, thoughts on the week, just leave them down in the chat. We'll dive into some stocks as we get going here in this video. Hopefully the sound is good. Make sure to run up the likes as you guys jump in. Run up those likes. I really appreciate that. Helps out the stream, helps out the channel, helps out us all, because ultimately it's not one versus all here. It's everyone working together. We're all looking at this stuff together. Hopefully we can kind of find some stuff. We can curate some watch lists. We can get some stocks that we're watching for the week. We can all do pretty well. So just turned 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern. So hopefully everyone will start to get in. We'll start to get some more. Ultimately, right now, futures are down. How's it going, Justin? Ultimately, right now, futures are down. Not too bad. Small caps taking a larger hit than, I guess, everything else. At least what we're seeing preliminary. We can see a ton more a ton more things happen overnight. We'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. Have you heard about ENG and GEVO? We'll take a look. I'm been watching GEVO, not currently no position. I don't know exactly what you may be talking about, but we'll jump into that here in a few minutes. But right now, futures are down. Not too bad. Not but we'll see. As of right now, what's what we had SPY to finish off the week. Of course, we're not looking at futures, but we're looking at SPY right now. So we're gonna as of right now, we'd open up a little bit lower. I have this downtrend in here, and so my thought was it's just a rough area. We've been seeing a lot of chop last week, so we've been chopping, but at the same time, we've been trying to perk out of this downtrend, which I want to see us open up above and then close up above into these levels up over that 345. So we're going to have to see how this week goes. Ultimately, though, completely honest, my honest thoughts of this week, I think we're going to see a continuation of that chop from last week. And I think we may see a further drop. My just gut feeling, my gut thought is a drop towards the end of the week unless we get a stimulus agreement. I know we've been talking about that for forever, and it's just so frustrating to just not have the definitive answer, because ultimately the people who are suffering, it's terrible for them, and I feel horrible for people who really need stimulus right now, who are really hurting, but. My concern is that we go into the election, no stimulus agreement. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know who's going to be pissed, angry, whatever, on the results. And so are we going to even get something? I know Trump says he's going to pass something when he wins, right? If he wins. And we know Biden wants to probably pass something bigger, but will that even happen? Will they even have that until post, this lame duck period from, period between, Biden gets brought in from Trump's leaving, it's going to be up in the air. So we really want a deal done. We want a verbal deal or something, at least verbal, get something, in the works, but that's going to be tough. I think, based off how we've been seeing it, we have two sides that are just digging in. They're just like, we thought, they keep saying there's progress, but it's like, whatever. We'll see. What's your top buy this week that will leave? Okay, well, to be completely honest, I'm thinking my honest thoughts for this week, if we see this chop and we see this volatility and we don't get stimulus, we don't get a verbal deal, we don't get that, I would start setting yourself up for next week for the election with some volatility plays just to hedge your downside. And the reason why, let's just look at VXX is probably my top pick in terms of volatility. So you can look to UVXY, the VIX, all things like that. But VXX is what I want to show you. I want to go to the daily chart. Okay, this is essentially a downside hedge. So if the market's down and we see more volatility, this is going to ultimately be up. And so what do we see during the initial shutdowns, initial start of the pandemic? This went from like $13.15 to 78. 78. Massive move. Do we see that type of volatility here through the election? Probably not. My best guess, probably not. But do we, with no stimulus and potential, who knows what's going to happen into next week? I think we can see some pretty big jumps up and down, see some volatility start to increase, and that's my thoughts. Because worst case scenario, right? This is I feel like it's a lower risk play. Because worst case, if you start grabbing this towards the end of the week, and I'm going to have a decent position here just to hedge my downside. Worst case scenario, you grab some volatility plays like this, or UVXY, or even some UVXY calls or something like that, however you want to play it. You grab, and I have a video going over some of the top stocks, which is really just volatility stocks for the election. I made that a couple weeks back. So if you grab it here and we open up next week, chances are we're not going to open up massively up, right, on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, right? So if you're swinging this for a short period of time, what's your downside risk if you were to even go heavy? Just to go heavy here, okay, this goes down to $20, 18, 19 if we do open up a little bit higher. But to be honest, I don't really see that happen. It's a shorter term trade for about a week or two. And if we do see a bigger drop to the downside, whether that, we don't have all the votes counted, whether, people are concerned about whoever wins, whatever happens, how dirty it is, whatever happens, I think we can see a pretty decent pop up, and it's at least a hedge for some of your long positions if you do want to go long. And right now I'm about 50-50 cash in terms of like what I have cash in terms of my positions. I want to probably go I'm probably also going to be around that same level by the end of the week, because I'll probably just be a little bit heavier into VXX, just in case we do see some major volatility into the election week. That's just my thoughts. So I don't know. This week we're going to see so much shop, so I have a couple plays I'll talk about here that I'm anticipating news on. Then okay, they're more like penny stock plays, they're more like small cap plays. That's just my style. So I'm anticipating news, and it's going to be what it's going to be on that side. But this could be the bigger play if we do get even just some resemblance of this kind of run that we had at the beginning of the pandemic. This could be a double, fairly easily, with a decent amount of volatility into that election, or a decent drop. Just because we may be seeing people just take profits the uncertain times, especially going into a period, right, where how are all these votes going to be? Are we going to have enough votes? Is it going to be close? Are we going to see, okay, polls say one thing, but we saw what happened 4 years ago. Are we going to have, enough votes to know that first night, or even on Wednesday? If we don't, people may just pull their money out and say, I'm going to get out just in case. Let's ride this out and see what happens. So we might get a good spike here, I think. That's just my thoughts personally. Then we'll look at some other charts as to what's looking good, whether stocks are looking good right now. So that's my thing. Thanks for the Gymshark shirt. Yeah, this is a nice one. I like this one. And they like these like athletic and workout stuff. They're kind of expensive shirts, but I mean, you get some good quality. All right, 100% cash. I understand. Nautilus or Nautilus. Let's take a look. If you have a ticker for that? That would be awesome. Let's see. Let's pull. I'll look it up quick on. Let's take a look. So futures are they're climbing a little bit. How do we spell this guy? Yeah, make sure you guys also that's one thing. If you just want to leave a ticker, it's easier. It's easier. Just for me. When we go forward, let's take a look. NLS. All right, let's take a look at NLS. Boom. I wish I could tell you like the ticker based off of all the stocks, that I just see the name and I know the ticker. Like, look at this massive uptrend that we're seeing lately. All right, let's zoom this guy out. Let's look at the weekly chart to get a better sense. This is a stock to me. Okay, personally, I wouldn't be interested in this one because of where it just is very overextended. So if you're in, you could just ride this up with a trailing stop loss. But industry based on the news that's been coming out, I'm not very familiar with it. But it just looks like, and we're looking at the weekly chart. So these candles are 1 week. We are very, very overextended. I would like to see a small pullback and then a breakout over those prior highs, personally, before I'd be looking at something like this. But, we saw what looks like somewhat of a decent trend. I can draw a little bit of a trend line in here. So we can see we have something like this that you can go off of. But ever since this touch right here back in end of August, we've really accelerated to the upside, which, okay, yeah, you can keep this trend, but I would be getting a little bit cautious as to maybe we pull back at some point here. So if you're in, well, that's one thing, but if you're not in, that's just based on this risk reward that I'm seeing. I'm not a huge fan, unless I know the catalysts and the reasons. They have this coming out, or they're really going to be good. They're going into this. So that's kind of my thoughts, just personally, based on that. If you have any other thoughts, make sure to leave them in the chat, because I'd love to just hear what everyone's saying. Everyone's thoughts down below. So, okay, one thing that I am, they own Bowflex. Okay, One thing that I'm looking at personally is Bitcoin. I have a Bitcoin watch list right here on the left. So I'm looking at Bitcoin, and we've been seeing this guy pushing up. So I'm going to look to 1 hour chart. And so what are we seeing? We're seeing somewhat of higher lows developing here on Bitcoin. So we had these kind of we had this breakout or this push up, and then these lows, and then boom, another higher low, and then we're showing higher lows for right now. So that's a good sign. I'm looking for this. This is a line that I have drawn in here, just a rough area. That was some prior highs. I want to see us break out above. So I'm looking for us to push above this line come tomorrow or this week. And then, like I said, I have a bunch of Bitcoin plays. I had a video going over some of these, but my top two would be Riot, Mara, then maybe NXTD, even XNet, and then eventually I guess DPW. But the top two would be Riot and Mara that really, really correlate to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's been holding up, and we take a look at Mara based on what it's been doing. It popped and it's come back in a little bit, so it might be a decent dip if Bitcoin continues its move to the upside. Riot, I think same kind of chart there. So that's what I'm looking at personally right now. We'll see. The Bitcoin's got to make a further breakout because it's been kind of messing around up in here, consolidating, which is good. It's a good for a further breakout. It shows signs that higher lows coming in. We have these higher highs even coming in, printing. That's a good sign. So I'm looking for this to make a further breakout this week, and those plays will certainly be in play yet again. So those are my top picks in terms of the Bitcoin plays. So that could be one way to kind of hedge yourself too. If the overall market's down or something, you may be able to grab like some great dips on like Mara or even Riot, because you may get like an opening sell-off on some of these stocks. You may get like a big dip sell-off just because the overall market's down, but Bitcoin may be pulling strong. And if Bitcoin's strong and it keeps pushing up, that could be a great dip buy as people start to find, okay, like what's, where's the best play right now? What stocks are going to be correlating to what's going up? Bitcoin's strong, market's not. That's where you probably want to be. Ultimately, that could be a great play this week. I'm personally waiting before I go and grab more NIO in a longer term account because I like that stock long term. I'm waiting for it to pull back, so we'll talk about that. We'll look at that too. Let's look at that, and then I'll look at UAVS and NIO because it's doing what we honestly have been seeing, similar type of pattern that we've been seeing. So let me go to the 2 hour chart to show you what this pattern is. We make this push up, consolidate, higher lows kind of, bull flag, and then push back up. So what are we seeing right now? We made this push up, and now we're kind of putting in some lower lows. So we are kind of downtrending a little bit right now. But what you can do, we're looking at the 2 hour chart. Pick your time frame of choice. For me, here it's 2 hours. It looks pretty easy. I draw on, hit these tops. I hit a couple tops on this little trend line. Above that could be the signal for the breakout. So it may not come down to the ultimate trend line, that I want, which the ultimate trend line that I personally want is for it to come down to something like this. So I want to see it come down closer to like under 25, to be honest. But will we actually get that? Maybe, maybe not. It may just take some longer time for this to consolidate and slow down based on the slope that we're kind of seeing of this uptrend. So how do you kind of handle that? Well, you can certainly play the breakout as you break out of that downtrend and then potentially go out and test these highs. So we got to break over 30, and that'll be the next test for the all-time highs for NAO. So that's what I'm looking for there. I want to see a pullback, but ultimately this is a strong stock. If you're looking to hold it long-term, I wouldn't be too concerned. You want to just be buying it consistently. If you have, a long-term portfolio and you're always adding X per month or X per year to that portfolio, be consistently buying a little by little, as you play it. But if you're playing for a shorter term play, the breakouts, the bounce off the trend lines, that's the type of stuff you're looking for. So the next area of support, if we do come down, here's a potential area, this 2374, then this gap, we fill this gap down, this 2250 could be a decent area for an entry if we do come down that far. And we'll see, that may not happen. But if the week's choppy, if the overall EV sector is down, that could be that could be great. So EVs last week we finished up and down. I think we finished off a little bit weak too. So NIO was probably the best performer of the EVs in general last week. So it was that, although it did come down. So that's that. Let's take a look at UAVS really quick. So I think I looked at this one recently. I think the chart was actually shaping up decent, if I recall. So, yeah, so this is actually decent. So, daily chart right here, I'm going to just draw this downtrend, kind of something like this. Maybe you can even pull this a little bit closer. And we, wicked above it, but we really got to make a solid open, close type of deal above this downtrend. And then that would be I'm going to have some more videos, I think, in the future going over some of these like technical things and, how to trade certain stuff like this. because I think it's actually a lot of fun to trade out just strictly off of technicals in strong stocks, or not even in, just really anything. And you can do pretty well just for scalps and for quick little breakouts and stuff. But here you want to see this thing popping back up above this 250, 260 area, and then eventually 275. Now it'll look like it'll be the next move up. But that said, we have a decent support, looks like around that $2. So I wouldn't want to see it fall below $2. Reason why I say $2 is because we kind of have this gap right here. So we have these wicks, we're like right to $2. So that previous area of resistance, I can even draw this line and this horizontal line. This previous area of resistance will become new support, or can become new support. So this looks like a decent type of play off of this bottom. Then eventually, if you play this and it holds that too, you can play it for the nice little breakout, because eventually it looks like it's going to come to a point at some point in the near future, and it could pop. Maybe it has news. I think it had news last week too, but maybe it has some more news, or maybe it just pops technically out of this downtrend and it breaks out. So that's what I'd be looking at for UAVS. ARTL, let's take a look. ARTL. Let's make sure I can see. TL. All right, so looks like we're coming down here, oversold, very oversold play, but we did show some signs of trying to make a little pop into the end, and we're seeing decent, some volume coming back in here. So this is a solid play where I think 50 cents is your area of support. So 50 cents is a strong level of support generally for stocks that are sitting around that level. So a decent balance opportunity or idea based on what we've been seeing, based on these spikes. 50 cents holds, we can see a decent spike, and we got to get back up over the 65, 66, and then we're in a decent gap to 70. So we have a decent shot at 70 if we can get back 6 area. So that's what I'm looking for. A mental stop under 50 if I'm playing it. I don't know any catalyst behind it, but if I was playing it, I of course would see if I can find any catalyst, any reasons of the future of maybe there's news or a spike like this. Different type of investor conferences. Who knows? Maybe they're presenting somewhere. You can get a potential spike into that, run up into earnings. Who knows? Something like that. Holding that 50 support. That's what I'd be playing it for. Yeah, NIO is insane. Blue, yes. They had, I believe, they also had, some buying. I think they had a 13G or something filed for Blue on Friday. I was actually looking at it after hours. It finished pretty strong. Let me take a look at Blue. It finished pretty strong. Yeah, here it is. So I believe there was some news that there was at least some 13G was filed or something like that. And so that there was, I think like a 7, I forget who it was that had a 7% stake or something like that, 7.6, that rings a bell based off what I saw last week. And so it pushed up, and they recently had the offering too. So this stock was popping down, was dropping off a little bit, but it's recovered pretty nice. And if we look at the 1 hour, it's starting to make its way back on up. And so I want to see it pop back up over 3. If we look at this chart, it's looking like it wants something. It wants something. So we get back over this 285, then potentially 3, and then we can see a further move back on up over 325, and every 25 cents or so would be my areas. I'd be looking to take some profit. So I like it. Of course, I don't like to play it based off of a spike like that. I'd like to see it come back down a little bit. Potentially tomorrow, if the market's down, that could be a decent spot where it comes back down a little bit, and then we pop on back up into the rest of the week if we do see some strength. So that's what I like for Blue. It's one that I was in, and then it never, I was in it, and it just kind of faded off, and I just cut it because I just felt that I had, my money better put somewhere else at the time. So, yeah, UAVS is the drone company. Yeah. There's all these people who are going to say there's rumors about an Amazon deal. I would not. I think it's kind of a joke as of right now. But who knows? But UAVS and VISL, those are 2 drone companies. If you're looking for, if some reason drone plays start heating up for whatever reason, there's news about something, those are some 2 go-tos. If one starts running based off news, you may look to the other for a sympathy couple percent move as well. ENG. Okay, let's take a look at ENG. 91 cents. Oh, this actually looks pretty good because I like when we see a stock, and we're going to talk about PPSI as well. What's going on, Adam? We're going to talk about PPSI as well because this is like a similar type of chart, but not similar, but the same type of pattern we're seeing. So we saw a push up, and then what we're seeing is this is trying to hold up around this 80-something area, 85, 90 area. And so it's kind of coming to more of a point. So we're kind of getting to like a point. We can kind of see what's happening. Looking like it's showing some signs right here. It pushed up, fell off, consolidation, and then potentially now are signs of a reversal back on up. So I want to see it start pushing back on up, to put in some higher lows as it's been doing. Let's put in some higher lows and let's confirm that we don't fall back on through this 88 or 85 area potentially as your last ditch area if we do wick down. So I want to see this continuation come out here. We're looking at the 4-hour chart. So zoom out on like a time frame like this and get a sense. Let's take a look at the daily chart to see. We're actually holding up over this 50 SMA. So right now for me, if I'm looking to enter this one, hold over this 50 SMA, 86, 87 level. And that's a good sign. This is generally going to be a decent area of support. And we've been seeing a lot of wicks, so you can even, this is even a great play to even just to scalp intraday or every couple of days based on some of these wicks. As of right now, that's what it's been doing. So an entry is under 90 cents for an entry would be ideal if you can get it. And then it looks like a break back over $1, potentially some news. This could make a nice 30% plus move back on up. And if we can somehow get above here, it might need news, but if we can get back above this 133, has a shot for 150 plus if we can get there. Just based on prior areas that we're seeing of resistance. GVO, this is another one that I do like. I think the chart looked pretty good last I saw it. But actually, look at that. So last I looked at it, GVO was up around this area, and it's fallen through this trend line for right now. Of course, this is, it's all relative. This trend line doesn't have to hold. But right now, it's holding at that 50 SMA. Or you can also look at it as that $1 natural support. So I like the $1 level. $1, 50 cents, 150, $2. Those are some like solid levels that I like to see. Whole numbers, generally that I like to see when it comes to a lot of these lower floats or these penny stocks. So it has not wicked below $1, so that could be a decent idea for an entry. If GVO can hold that $1 level, just a natural area of support, that could be a decent spot for a move back on up, and that's where I would probably be looking for. If it does crack below, I'd look for a mental stop, look to get out, look for, see if it can consolidate down and find some other area of support before looking for a potential re-entry. All right, so let's see. I have not looked at Ttcf. We'll go over to that in a second. But if you have any idea what stock you think might drop this week, trade options, feel like things are going to start dropping. Yeah, well, what I would look for, if you're looking for a drop, which, I think my lean would be probably, I would lean bearish overall, unless we get stimulus news or unless, some other news happens. We could look to stocks that have been up. So how can you find some stocks that have been up? Well, you can look at like on Webull, like for example, right? I can go to like this 52-week tab that I have in here in the widget section. I can go to something that's like at all-time highs or near highs, right? That just made a new high, like this past week. And so I can go to like, some of these stocks, and I would look into some of these stocks that have made new highs. And you can even go on to finviz.com, simple place to go. Go to stocks that have made new highs. Look into the stocks, see why they're up, see what's driving it. And if they are, right, or if you want to just short something and you feel the overall market sentiment is going to be down and we're going to see a short, just stick to SPY maybe. That's another option. For me, what I would want to see is if we do fall below this 340 area, that could signal a further drop on SPY because we came down to this area of 340 a couple times, 341 and then 340, like these wicks down. So if we do drop below that level, that could be a decent area for some SPY puts that you can grab for either a day trade or a couple day swings. If you want to grab some SPY puts, that could be a decent play. That could, if the market does tank, which is possible, if it does tank, then that could pay out big time. So ultimately, I'm sure you can find weaker stocks that'll make bigger potential downside moves or even upside moves if you're looking like if things were flipped and you were looking long or if we got stimulus news or something. But that's kind of how I would do it. I'd look for stocks that are pretty overextended, that could use a decent pullback and that may be up for, without any news or without, you're trying to find a reason why they're up and you can't really find too many. That could be a decent idea for a short or for some puts. Personally, I don't know. I would probably just play the SPY puts personally if that was me. But that's just my strategy. That's how I would do it. But NOK. Let's take a look at NOK. Nokia looks like it's trying to bull flag in a sense. So we have we have this push to 488. It's 448, so 450 or so. And what we got is right now this 432 areas we got to break above. We have some higher lows being put in, so it looks like it's doing pretty well. It's coming back off these lows, off of this bottom of 373. In terms of just like a move to the upside, and actually, what's funny, See this gap? You know how we talk about gaps? So we see this gap right here, where we had a gap from about 425 to right here to 40. It's funny, this gap just got filled right here by this candle, and then it came back and it's kind of consolidating for right now. So I want to see higher lows continue to get put in, hold up over $4. I wouldn't want to see this thing dropping back below 420, to be honest. I want to see higher lows get put in for a further move up. This is probably not a very fast moving stock though. So if we zoom out and we take a look, it's making a decent reversal. So I like how it's making this reversal. And maybe you have, room from 430 to, $5 ultimately in the next couple weeks, potentially months, if the market doesn't completely tank. But it's probably not it's probably a slower move or a safer play. And we can even I would even look to draw in a trend line here based off of some of these. So maybe you can come in and connect some of these lows. You can connect some of these, higher lows being put in. And look to see if it does come down to a trend line. If it comes and pulls back, that could be a decent ad zone if it continues this reversal trend that we've been seeing as of late. So that's I think it's a decent idea. But it's not, and because it doesn't have tons of range, right? We're looking at a stock that's at 430, and if it comes back and tests at least these highs from a few months ago, you're looking at maybe $1 gain or less than $1 gain. Okay. But what's your downside? Your downside is like 50 cents. So it's like a decent risk reward if you're playing this for a decently long swing. It's not a terrible play. Your risk is fairly low. GRWG. Let's take a look. This looks pretty good. Well, we're pushing back on up here. So we're pushing up. I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. We're pushing up to potentially come back up here and test this all-time high. Is that an all-time high? Let's zoom out. It looks like it is. So yeah, we're coming back up to these all-time highs. So let me see. We are holding up. We popped up. We really consolidated. And now we're making that U shape. I love these types of plays, even on just shorter term, even on like a daily, a 1 minute, one day, 1 minute chart or a 5-minute chart. This is great because what you'll see many times is if you do break above these highs, you'll get a nice breakout to the upside. So it's looking like it's pretty strong. It's showing some decent strength. I'd like to see it now come back up here and test this high. If it can do so, awesome. What you also may see is it come up here, test it, pull back a little bit, and the second time's a charm, and that's where it really rips through. So be careful and don't be buying it up here. Either buy it once it breaks through or buy it on the dip after it tests this level and comes back down to maybe a trend line, which I can maybe put in right here. Maybe it comes back down to something like this, and we see a trend line like that, and that's where you may be looking to buy at that trend line. If it doesn't make that first initial breakout, that could be a decent spot. But it's showing some pretty good strength based on the price action that we've been seeing. So I kind of like that. Let's take a look at Ttcf. This is one that I've been watching for a while on and off. So it came down, it cracked below this trend line. So this is not a terrible area. This area was some prior levels of consolidation. So we may see it kind of hold up around this level for right now, and we'll see what happens to the overall market. A lot of these SPAC plays are just taking a little bit of time. They're, after the merger goes through and stuff, they've been pulling back lately. And so we'll see. It's taking some time. I want to see it consolidate and give it some more. I think I was talking about this was a couple days ago or last week when we were streaming. I want to see it consolidate. So let's lose these crazy wicks of 10% moves in like a couple days. Like let's slow that down. Let's get back to the couple 1 to 2 to 3% moves in a couple days. Once we kind of calm down to that level, let's find a bottom. Let's find an area where we're making a reversal. That's where I'd be looking personally for an entry. Yes, let's take a look. VRYYF. Is this the very good food company? I don't know too much about it, so it seems as if I can't actually accidentally unlock trading here. Let me just enter, or let me just I don't need to do that right now. I don't know. Not something that I'd be looking at based on what I'm seeing personally. So I don't know. I don't know much about it. So my layout. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. So my layout. What I have is I have a video going over how to create a custom layout on the channel, so you can check that video out. To be honest, that would be your best place to go. But what I have, pretty much all you got to do is go to the widget section to add widgets, and I go through in that video how to do all this stuff and what I have loaded up. But all these things, all these widgets, not all of them, but they're all these stuff that I have on the screen is in that widget tab. And if you have any questions on how to add a widget to a widget, Like if I want to add this screener thing, which I can have my own screeners if I wanted to on this page, which I don't personally have, but if I wanted to like lay it out over something, I can lay it over my chart, and then it's going to pop up here in like the different like options kind of like on the top. It's like a different tab in a sense, but I don't personally need that, so I'm just going to delete it for right now. Yeah, but this is the Webull desktop platform, so it's actually pretty fun. Like it's pretty cool, and they're actually they're doing out 3 free stocks. Like it seems like they're kind of like up and down with the free stocks, but they're giving out 3 free stocks. I always have links in the description boxes of my videos. If you ever want to check it out, grab 3 free stocks, deposit $100. It's always there. They even sent me this hat, so I'll put this on for you guys just for a second. I'm not a big hat guy, but they sent me this hat. I have it in the background of some of my videos, so it's pretty cool. I use it like unlike a lot of people who just like will promote the platform and like get my hit the link down below and get 3 free stocks. Like I actually use it. I know there's other platforms you can use. I know there's probably better platforms in terms of performance and speed and stuff, but I don't need that. Like I don't need that stuff right now, so it works for me for what I need it for, and it does the job. So I'm perfectly fine with it. Do you know how the big buttons work? Reversal button, mobile app. I don't know what exactly you mean by the big buttons. If you're talking about the Webull app, reversal button. I'm not too sure what you're saying. What do you do? What do you look at and know where to put the trend line? So I want to do some more videos in the future about how to do this stuff. So it's all like relative. It's not like an exact science by any means, right? So when I say it's not an exact science, it's up to you, and it's up to kind of your style. Hopefully the sirens you guys don't hear in the background, it's too loud. We got like a live band outside, we got sirens, we got it all going on tonight. I look for multiple points on a certain time frame. So like you can look at the daily chart, the 4-hour chart, the 1-hour chart, whatever time frame you're looking at, it doesn't really matter. But pick a time frame that works for you. For me, I like the daily chart a lot, and the 4-hour chart. And then if I want to go on and zoom into smaller time frames, I want to see something. Let me actually show you NIO as a good example. I want to see, I want to be able to put a line in, and for the chart to hit or come very close to that line more than like 2 times. So here we kind of see one, if I can actually extend this line, almost hits it again there. So we see like 1 hit there, very close to a hit here. If you wanted to zoom it in and get it, you can pretty much put a hit there. So we have 1, almost 2, 3, 3 hits. Like there's your 3 hits. And so there's that. And if you want to find an area of like resistance, right? Like here's like a top line, trend line resistance, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, right? We hit it 4 times. That's a trend, just to me. And of course, it doesn't have to respect that trend perfectly. It can respect the trend however it wants, but that's what we're seeing, and so that's how I like to put that line in there. Just how I do it. Multiple hits on the trend line, and then this is another area that you can put. It's a little bit different here on this level because it's not perfect, but I can put one in here. Boom, boom. That's 2 hits, 3 hits, 4 hits. Boom. And then I can put another trend line here for these higher lows, and I can go like 3 hits, boom, higher lows. So we have a trend. So like that's kind of how I do it. I'll have some more videos out on that stuff because I love this stuff. I love the technical side of stuff. Personally, if I could only trade off technicals, I would literally do that, but that's not the whole piece of the puzzle. You got to look at a bunch of other stuff. Ultimately, sometimes it'll work for you, but not all the time. So there's more to it. But it gives you a good sense, a good idea at least. POAI, people looking at for a reversal. I have been hearing about it for a little bit. So POAI, let's take a look at the daily chart. This is actually looking like it's perking up, and it's coming right up to that 50 SMA. So I want to see it break out over that level, but it's coming down. It's pulled off. It's pulled back. We had that sell off through most of August, September, early September. Tried to consolidate, fell back again. Now it's consolidating. It kind of double bottomed almost at the 75 level, and why I say double bottom. Down here we got close, here we got very close again, and now it's making a couple candles moving back on up, hitting 86. So it's not a terrible risk reward based on what we're seeing. This thing can pop over $1 pretty easily, but this 50 SMA at that 92 level would be the next area that I think it needs to pop on through. It breaks through that with some volume. Let's get some more volume coming in, and we can see, that would be nice. So what we saw is actually, we look at the volume, which is actually going to be right up here. If you guys don't, sorry if it's small, but I'm looking at the volume the past couple days. 350,000. We see 234,000, 212,000, 75,000, 125,000, about 150,000. In the past 3 days, 692,000. We see 692,000 again, or no, 725,000. And then the last day, 765,000. So the volume has been pushing up, which is good to note. So that's a potential reversal play for sure. Based off the volume in the past 3 days, that looks like it has some potential for sure for a decent reversal this next week or two. I like that. NVIV. Let's take a look. So this must have had like an offering or something. So it fell to 50-something cents, 56 cents hit the low. So let's take a look. Let's zoom her out. And again, like I was mentioning earlier with that other play at that 50 cents, this is actually a pretty nice play. So it looks like it dropped off here and it's bottoming out here. It's like it's bottoming out, trying to find some support or consolidate. So maybe you want to let this play out another day or two, see how the next couple days go. But it looks like if it holds over that 50-cent level, this thing might have some room. And the reason why is because many traders will look to the daily chart to find gaps. And what do we see? Well, we see a gap here over 65 cents. We have a gap to about $1. So you have a decent gap to fill. If we can break over that 65 cents and start pushing on up, this might be a great play back to $1. But it also may take some time. So not all the time is it just going to immediately fill that gap, or is it just immediately going to make a reversal. It might have a decent little bounce, but it may just need a couple more days or potentially even longer for it to consolidate, and then before it maybe has news or has another catalyst to send it into that gap and to get enough volume, enough traders on it for it to get sent into that gap. But it does look like a decent opportunity for a reversal play if it can hold that 50-cent level. So I, again, want to see some more chart history before I'd be looking to play that personally, unless I knew catalysts, of course. So, Guild is slow. Guild is a slow mover. I liked it because the Regeneron news, right, I believe. But I'll look at it really quick. It's just very slow. So it hasn't really moved too much. So yeah, it had this push up, but it's ultimately the stock is down here to $60 or so, and so it's sitting at these lows. So it could be a decent candidate for a reversal. Although I can also see the stockers coming right back on down and just dropping off. For sure, based on the prior history, we just haven't been seeing it holding up over the past couple of months very, very well. So I want to see it get back up above. We can look at some downtrend potential breaks. So let's just draw a quick little trend line from this high. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. There's not too much to kind of go off of. So maybe it's trying to perk up above this level, or maybe it's going to pull back off and make this, the third point on this downtrend line for it to fall back down towards that $60 and then potentially fall through that. I thought with some decent news, it may make a bigger reversal. But again, give it a couple more days. Let's see what it starts doing. If it starts putting in a bottom here and it starts making higher lows over the next couple of days, that could be a decent reversal type play back towards like $80. Which could be a decent potential call play, or if you want to just hold shares for a fairly low risk, decent reward, not a huge reward here, but it could be a decent idea. So that's my only thought. I personally, I don't think I would touch it. Workhorse. Let's go to Workhorse. Everyone loves Workhorse. Everyone loves it. So what we have here for Workhorse is we've pulled back. What I'm looking at personally, and we did this kind of with Hyliion actually, is it fell through these. I have a lot of lines on here. I know. Don't get all. It's not like a big deal about these lines. It's for me. These are some levels I've been looking at, and I've been talking about this in prior videos too. Fell through the support, and I'm looking personally. My buy range is in between these two lines right here. This is an area of consolidation that I think is a good buy range for me under 17. So I'm looking for it to maybe come back up towards that $20 or $21. It's a little over $20, and then potentially find this area to be resistance, and then fall back down if we don't get any news, which they may have news coming. We may get potential news on that USPS contract. Honestly, whenever it could come, whenever. But if they don't get news, this may come back down to this range. So it's a longer term play. I do like it for a little bit of a longer term play, potentially this being a $50 stock and at least another year, 2 years, potentially in the future. So this could be a great play, long-term growth. But I want to get a better deal if I can. If it doesn't, if it comes back above, I'd be looking for it, let things play out a little more. Personally, that's what I'm looking at right now. So they have had news, a lot of news lately. So let's see what happens this week if there's any more new news. But yeah, let's take a look. Let's see. AUPH. Let's take a look at what we got here. This actually looks pretty good. Take a look at this downtrend, see if we can get a downtrend kind of idea. Yeah, this looks like we have a couple points on this line, so it's breaking out of this downtrend. And I actually like when you don't get when you reverse out of a trend, right? I actually like it a lot more when you kind of break out of the trend and then pull back and then go. So this may be one of those examples where we have this general downtrend on the daily chart. We popped up a little, broke out of it a little bit, got rejected by this 200 SMA, and then it came back down a little bit, so it came back down to that 15, just under 15, and it may start pushing up. So I want to see it break over 16 bucks. 16 bucks is the next level. So we either open over 16, gap and go, we break over 16, then it has a better shot to the upside. So I like that chart based off what I'm seeing, based off how it's moving. Also, we're seeing higher lows being put in. Boom, 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 boom. Higher lows getting put in. We can even put in a trend line on those last couple lows. And it's showing pretty good. So it pretty much came down to it, and it's bouncing up again. So I like that. It's a decent chart. Yes, let's just go into PPSI. NIO, HUYA. NIO I talked about briefly. I want to get pulled back personally. Let's see how the overall sector kind of goes over the next couple of days. I would anticipate a pullback unless there's more news personally with NIO. And then we get that breakout, the downtrend breakout. So we'll talk more about that maybe towards the end. But I want to talk about PPSI. I had it on my list. I have PPSI. I also have Grill. I want to talk about Grill potentially this week. I know it ran up yet on Friday, I believe. But let's talk about those two. Because PPSI, if you guys remember, I don't want to say that I'm not trying to be oh, I called it, but it was a beautiful play because I saw the hurricane. This is a generator company, by the way. I saw the hurricane forming, and based on looking at computer forecast models, weather forecast models, which I have some experience, reading, and I know how that stuff kind of works. But so slight edge, I guess. I saw this thing becoming pretty strong, pretty significant. That was right in here, so I had an average 155. And then PPSI the next day went up massive, went up 500%, which is insane. I wish I captured that entire move. I didn't capture that whole move, but I got a good chunk of it. So that was insane. Now what are we seeing? I believe there's also an S3 out for PPSI. Just understand that. So there's also potentially some more risk there. So it came back down, and what is it trying to do? It's consolidating. So we had this low put in at 260-ish area. Let me do a 4-hour chart to get a better sense of this whole thing. So we had this low. Let me zoom out a little bit. This low looks like a 260 was our low. Okay. We got a quick pop to 420. Which is actually a pretty big pop, actually, from 260. But now it's really kind of consolidating. It's coming to a point. So what you'll usually see when you really start coming to a point based off these prior explosive moves, we're not seeing as much of a range based off the last couple of days, right? We're not seeing much of a range. I want to see it hold up over that 260, 275 area. And I want to see it make a reversal. But I also think we may be seeing a potential explosive move because people with the last hurricane, this one went massively. Any sign of a hurricane, it could go again. Although, if I go back to this stuff, if I go back to my computer models, no, don't get too caught up in all this stuff. I like looking at this stuff, and you probably won't even understand what's going on. But let me just zoom in let me look at the southeast U.S. Actually, let me zoom out. I gotta get a better view because that's not telling you. Let's look at the western Atlantic. So here's a storm where this low pressure is. No, but this is not a weather lesson, but it could make us some money. So it's looking to come and really kind of go right by Cancun, very, very similar place as the last storm. But if it holds up over the water instead of land, that could keep it stronger. Again, not good for Cancun, but and potentially the Gulf Coast. But it looks like it's going to head to the Gulf. Now, this time of year, it's October stuff. The Gulf is still warm. The Gulf is still pretty hot, actually. This storm can certainly go, but it's probably not going to be under the ideal conditions that maybe a month or two ago you would have had for a big storm. So I don't see this storm strengthening much more than maybe a Category 1 or 2 at the most, if it even gets to that level. So that's I don't want to say concern, but we had the storm strengthen a lot more the last storm. And a couple storms back, we had a move on PPSI, but it wasn't that big. So this could be a decent play if you can get a pretty good low average, and it might get some attention Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if people catch on, but it also may not. So I've seen it happen before where the storm's not strong enough. It doesn't get enough media attention. The storm doesn't get put out in the news and stuff as much, and it just, it may not catch. But it very well could, because we saw the explosive move that it did last time, so it very well could catch big time. So that's where I'm kind of like up in the air here. I wouldn't be going all in on PPSI, but it could be a decent trade to look at grabbing some Monday morning or Monday, seeing if it holds that 260, 250 area, being maybe your mental stop. I'm done if it drops below 250. And then riding it for a couple days. Okay, either like Wednesday, Thursday, you cut it, and then that's it. So like that's kind of, you have a short time scale on it, the storm, and usually PPSI gets attention before the storm makes landfall. Understand that. It usually goes before the storm makes landfall. It's usually like when it's at the peak intensity or getting close, or when it's forecasted to become, category whatever, the peak, when we have that max forecast, okay? So this is going to hit land as of right now, Wednesday, Thursday. So I wouldn't be too concerned of holding it too long. So it's a short-term play. You grab it Monday. Worst case scenario, Thursday morning, you're out. Hey, Thursday comes, I'm out no matter what. Either it goes, it doesn't go, and that's it. You kind of have your risk in place. That's how probably I'm going to play it. I'm going to take a look at this come tomorrow morning and see what I think. But that's my play on PPSI for this week. Not as big of a storm, so it may not have an explosive move, but it has the prior history. So based on that prior history, this may at least go 25, 30%, which could be a nice solid gain, on this stock. So that's what I like. Sorry, I kind of missed out on a couple of comments. I got a little, caught up in my PPSI. Good money PPSI last hurricane along with Ross Cameron. Yeah, that's the guy who does, he has all those YouTube ads going up. I know. Overall market for next week. Yeah, so my thoughts on the overall market. Let's take a look at the futures really quick before we go. I'm sorry, I'm catching back up on the comments. It's nothing's down too bad. Things can change into tomorrow morning. So personally, my thoughts is I just don't see it going up much. I mean, we're trying to break out of this downtrend on SPY lately. We are trying to, but at the same time, with the stimulus, with just the headbutting of the stimulus, I just really can't see us making bigger moves to the upside unless there's some other crazy news, unless we get some other, drug, vaccine related something kind of news like that, or we get stimulus news. Other than that, I think we're going to just see chop, or if I had to lean one way, it would probably be a downside heavy lean towards the end of the week, because people may just be taking profits and getting some money off the table going into the election. And so like I was mentioning at the beginning, VXX is my volatility play, because if we take a look, zoom out, what did it do last time the market plummeted and tanked? It popped big. Now, is the market going to plummet and tank? Probably not to that degree. But if we do get some uncertainty, we do get a pretty significant sell-off, this might pop 10, 20, 30%, and you can take your 30%, and at least you cover your downside in case, we do see a bigger sell-off. So it's a good, kind of hedge, in my opinion. That's what I think. Hyliion, haven't looked at that one yet. HYLN, I looked at that one in today's video just a bit. They have an S1 out. I don't think it's too much cause for concern personally. But we are seeing it try to come down and find an area of support. So what I had prior, I had a prior level right here as a prior area of consolidation. So I had this $26 level was an area that I was looking for to see if it held. It bounced up and then fell through. So what it did now is it came down below, retested this level as now resistance, as it was prior support. It's now resistance based off this candle right here. I came up and tested it, and then it fell off. So I would not be surprised to see some further lows, at least recent lows. I'm not saying based on this. I would see it go down further under 20, 22, potentially down towards that $20 range. Could be a decent area to grab some. I'm already in some HYLN and longer term portfolio, but so we'll see what happens. I want to see if I can grab some a little bit lower. So I'm waiting to the election. I'm waiting for that to kind of blow over, because if we do get some massive sell-offs or some massive overreactions around the election, that could be great dip scoops for a bunch of these types of plays that, does the election, does a president change or the same president, does that affect this stock? Like, does it affect the stock that much? If not, we just see an overall market sell-off. That's a great dip buy. That's a time when you want to have cash ready to buy, whether that's long-term, whether that's short-term swings, scalps, day trades, whatever you want to do. Dips like that could be, a real gift. Now, of course, timing that dip, is of course always tough, but it's going to present a potential opportunity. That's why I'm really excited about, potentially November, because it may, offer some pretty good dip opportunities early on in the month, and then we can make up for that, to finish out the year. So that's my thought. Asian markets look solid. Okay. So what I can also do is I can go to this. And another thing to look at on Webull too, is that if you're looking at if you just wake up in the day, in the whatever, if you wake up and you want to get a sense of the overall worldwide kind of markets, you can get a sense right here, of how everything's doing in the morning. So right now, you can kind of see SPY, you can see NASDAQ. Right? This is what would happen, I believe, on Friday. So we get a better sense overall market-wise. Let's take a look. Yeah, so market will not be affected by stimulus talks. Not like, yeah, I mean, I've lost all hope on that stuff until after the election, which I think is going to be a mess, let me tell you, because, right, you have potentially, right, one, who knows if one side or the other may just give up, say, no, I'm out, like, I'm not going to, I'm not getting what I want, and I lost the election, and will they give up? Are they going to, I don't know, it sounds terrible to do that to people, but I don't know, we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at our AGI. Renewable energy. This is a good potential Biden play, because I know a lot of people are talking about renewable energy stocks if Biden wins and stuff. This could be a great renewable energy play for a breakout over these highs. And actually, if we look at this, trend line here, and we have kind of a trend line that we kind of can see pulling up. Let me pull that up into there. Look at that. That's pretty good. That's a solid trend. Like that checks the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and almost 10. Like that's a pretty solid trend. If we get a couple points like that on the daily chart to hit, that's a solid trend. So this is a potential good dip buy. If it does come down to this closer to this trend line, or you can even look to average in here with the stop loss potentially, mental stop here below 53 if it falls below there or something, or if it just cracks the trend. That's how I potentially would play it. TELL. Natural gas company. Okay, so this is a decent, to most people who trade, uptrends, right, compared to the last play, it's not the same. But, as someone who does have experience trading these types of charts, it's not terrible because of the risk reward. So we see prior spikes that we've been seeing. So this is not a terrible risk reward type of play. Hold that 50 SMA now. We're back over that 50 SMA. That could be a decent spot. Over $1 can send this one. So that's what I'll be looking for. If it can break over $1, they can really get a good, couple percent, 10, 15, 20%, depending upon if they even have news. So I do like that chart. I know UPS people are playing or looking to play calls into the end of the year. This is actually a pretty nice chart, a pretty nice solid play that's been breaking out, kind of making, further breakouts to the upside. So UPS, it looks like as of right now, we kind of have some levels of support. So I want to draw these in. Right about here could be an area of support. Of course, it's relative. It's not perfect, so we can drop further down below, maybe come down towards this 165 potentially. I don't know if we'll get that low, but we may. But if it holds at 170, it looks like it may be poised for a further breakout. But again, if the overall market's weak, this level of support and fall down to that 165, which would probably be a potentially better area for an entry, or for some, if you want to grab some calls or something like that. So that's what I'm thinking for UPS. FSLY, yeah, okay, I remember talking about this one. Sorry, I am behind on the chat, but I'll get in there. So, okay, so it came down to 73-ish. 75 was my area that I was looking for. So, personally, I wouldn't want to see it dropped below, this 70. So, that's if I was playing at my mental stop, right, under $70. But it looks like it's putting in what we kind of can see right here. We kind of came down and then popped back up, so it actually almost finished green. It was down 3%, but it wasn't down terribly based on the open and close for the day. So we'll see what happens. But this one maybe looking to potentially kind of bottom out and make a reversal back up. I know a lot of people got screwed in that one, and it is a potential dip buy. I can kind of see, right? If I draw this horizontal line in here, right, we put this in rough area, but that 75 area seems to be an area that we hit many times in the past. And so do we continue out? Or if we can't, this could be a decent short or a put opportunity if we do start falling below that 71, if we do start showing weakness below 75. that could be a decent level of to buy some puts. And when you have a decent increase in volume, we had 9 million the day before, and then on Friday we had 20 million shares traded. So we had decent increase in volume, which could be volume precedes price generally, right? Okay, let's take a look. PVSI. PVSI. Unless you meant PPSI, which we talked about, I like that as a potential play. This week, it's going to be a hold from. I'm looking to grab some Monday, and I'm going to probably hold that till Thursday, and that's it. So that's my plan. Like, if the hurricane will hit by Thursday, it either goes or it doesn't go. I'm not expecting as big of a move, but if it gets enough attention, that could be a massive play because it has that prior history of running massively just a few weeks back. CBAT, CBAT, this is actually looking pretty good. Reason why I like that is because it's been a pretty hot one lately too. It's got this downtrend on the daily, so it's kind of coming to more of a point. So we kind of have some support here as well at that 275, 280-ish area. Let me draw that horizontal line in here. Just right here, lately we were seeing some support right here. So I want to see it hold up around that 275. Falls below 275, not as huge of a fan. It could eventually go if it gets news or something. But I like to see it break out of this downtrend for a further move on up. It may just kind of cool off, so it may come back down. We'll see. It's had a pretty good run the past couple of weeks, but that's what I want to see, that downtrend break on the daily chart. So that's that. KTOV. Yes. In the LLY buyout stuff, I like KTOV, and here is the chart for KTOV. I wish, honestly, I had looked, and not looked, I wish I had gone heavier in KTOV earlier. So we zoom out and we take a look at KTOV. I made, on my, super, at the time, was much smaller than the account, now, but I made great money based on my account on playing these ups and downs on these breaks, and I, of course, missed this massive move. But KTOV just broke out of a prior resistance. Why do I say that? Well, because all these tops, we had this 460 area. We came up to it multiple times. We broke out. We broke over $5 pre-market. We hit like 540, right? If I go to the 4-hour chart. And we actually didn't have any new news, actually, I believe, with KTOV. But there's rumors of buyouts. So I want to see it now hold up. This is potentially a great entry at that 460-ish area, 475. Seems area. Now we're holding up over this area of previous resistance, becoming new support for that potential buyout or potential news, or even just based on the chart, it could just send it up to 5+. That would be a great sign for KTOV. That's what I'm looking at. Let's take a look. I'm catching up. Don't worry. I'm way behind. Okay. Fastly relies so heavily on TikTok. Okay. Let's take a look. I appreciate 65 viewers and 14 likes. Hey, we're at 113 viewers when I'm seeing it right now. So we've run the likes up, guys. I appreciate you guys. Run these likes up. We're at 27 likes now. I appreciate it. Let's get it up. I did this for free. So I'm not, if I can anyway. But I can actually, if I really wanted to, I could actually click the button right here on my screen, I believe, and I can insert an ad. So I'm not sure if you guys would see that, but I think I could. I'm not going to do it to you though. I could. If I was pissed, I could do it. So let's take a look. PLTR. I know this is actually a pretty hot one. PLTR. I'm getting down the list. Don't worry. So this is actually a decent one. I like it based off of this chart. I like it for a decent move up. I know people are talking about the CEO and everything and the next Elon Musk. I've seen some stuff. But I want to see it kind of hold up. There's not much chart history here. So you're kind of going off of fundamentals and you're going off of very low chart history. I haven't looked too much into it personally. But based on this chart, we're seeing some higher lows. I would like to see it break back over this 1050 for a potential retest of the, I believe, the opening day highs of 1142. So that's what I want to see on PLTR. Not much history though, so maybe give it some more time for it to kind of, come to some type of, give it some more time, give it some more history, get some more candles on that chart. So, there we go. TBLT, let's go. TBLT, let's do it. Okay. So we kind of have a downtrend going on the TBLT daily chart. We're coming down to this 50 SMA. That that is where I want to grab the dips. I want to grab the dips low 70s, and I'll grab more if we get more dips. I want to start grabbing some more dips in the low 70s for TBLT because multiple catalysts here. Lows, they're in lows. Selling out on Amazon. Earnings next month. Earnings last month was good. Anticipating even better earnings this month. More sales, right? We're selling out on Amazon. We're in lows. We should see those numbers coming up. At a minimum, if we don't get a PR here from TBLT that they're in lows, there's something else going on. At a minimum, I'm expecting a decent run into earnings, right? On top of that, they also, I believe, may be PRing about thermal imaging, which we saw a thermal imaging play Mark run up last week, which was good. Okay, so we saw Mark go from like $1.08 to $1.67. It was up 40% on Friday, I believe, from a tweet. But that's a thermal imaging play. TBLT may now actually, on top of already being what it is, it's like a home improvement type of play. They have a, it's tough built. If you guys look it up on Amazon, like it's a legit company. It's not like just some random company in someone's mom's basement, like cranking out like, you know, random stuff. Like, no, they're like a legit company. Home improvement sector, niche, whatever. People home due to the virus. You know, that's kind of the idea. So, with that said, that's why I like it a lot. And if they do enter that thermal imaging play, they drop a PR, this could be a beast. This could be a beast because it's spiked in the past. It's spiked in the past, and I think people might catch on. Once they see a fresh PR, it might be one of those plays that runs for a couple days or it runs through the whole day because people are going to look and say, well, what happened last earnings? Oh, it popped big. You know, earnings, they beat earnings or they didn't, have decent earnings. And so that might finally get, I'm in early, I'm down a little on my position, but I'm looking to grab dips because I have so many things going for it. That's why I like it so much. So it's one of those types of plays where it's like, it's just it's a gut play. I had my downside risk limited. We're pretty oversold, so that's why I like it so much personally. Thanks for guys running the likes up. Look, 43 likes. We've been running it up the past couple minutes. I like it. Snap dip. I think you can get a dip on Snap. Facebook. I think you can get dips there because I think if the market comes back, you can get some decent dips. LCA, I believe, they're waiting on more states, I believe, going to legalize things. So that's what I think they're potentially waiting on. Potentially, we'll see. LCA is going to be a good play, I think personally, once they do kind of get things going. So they did they set the date yet? I haven't even been paying attention. They haven't set the date, so they're falling low, but this could be a great dip add for a long-term play. I'm going to reassess and look into this one going forward this week. I might have some more videos on it this next week, so stay tuned potentially for that if we get some news here. That's what I'm looking at. Let's take a look. Oh gosh, there's a lot of comments. I wish I could keep up. I might have to just kind of off the top of my head start running through some stuff. You guys talking about Fastly popping back up. There you go. I think it's on a decent spot for a bounce. Fubo. We'll take a look at Fubo here. I'll look at Fubo because I'm in it in a longer. Actually, what's funny? I was in this just for a quick speculative trade, right? It's funny. And then what did I do on Friday? I trimmed half my position because I was up like 40% or something like that. Because I bought a pretty good dip like down under here. I was up a decent amount, so I trimmed half my position, and of course it went up like another $1 from where I was up. And I was like, okay, I could have trimmed later on, but I'm still in like half a position in my longer term swing trade account or just long term investing account, whatever you want to call it. I hold more cash there, more longer term investments. I didn't expect it to go as soon as it went, but it started popping from at least where I had an average, so I can't complain. But it's pushing up. It's breaking out here. I think it's got, it's going to make some more moves. Let's see if we can get to 15, and then if we get over 15, this thing could really push towards 20, which would be massive this week. It's got the momentum, though. It really does. So I'm looking at that. I like that. If Jim, when it comes to having $100, I want a quick option trade to turn my 100 into 1,000, 2,000. I wish I could tell you, because that's personally, nothing against you, and that's how a lot of people start out. But that's not the proper way, I think, personally, to think about it. But if I had to say, hey, where's a good option idea? My option idea is going to be on volatility plays. So it's either going to be like the UVXY, the VIX, VXX, or it'll just be SPY puts. So if we do get negative news or we get a further sell-off, the market starts selling off this week, we'll see what happens. That could be like your biggest play. Or just if we start seeing more volatility, I'm looking at VXX, or you can look at UVXY, whatever, for intraday day trade. But those would be my preferred options trades as of right now, just based off my comfortableness or my comfortability, I guess, with what's going on. I lean right now towards bearish on the overall market, but every time you feel strongly one way, every time I feel strongly one way, somehow the market's going to humble you. So I am by no means going to just go all in on puts, because I know it's a stupid idea, because if something happens or if everything that I thought doesn't pan out, I get screwed. So I'm not going to do that. That's just not the way I'm going to go about things. So personally, that's that. VVPR. Also, my options, like I love, when it comes to options, I like intraday day trades, scalps. I don't like holding them overnight, just because you have that potential with just the overall market news. If something happens, stimulus, if you got somebody who says this, somebody says this, you can get crushed overnight, and the stock may move, or the overall trade may go your way eventually, but you're fighting time on top of the actual trade going your way. So you're fighting too much stuff. Holding overnight, you take on more risk if you're doing a shorter term options trade. Longer term options trades, not as much, so that's fine. Okay. So with VVPR, we're actually coming down right here. The $7 seems to be holding up as our support right now. It's 50 SMA. So we're trying to consolidate and make a potential reversal here. We had this uptrend finally crack, so there's that. It's in a decently hot sector right now, though, so I would be watching that. If we do fall below 7, I'd be looking for potentially 6, then even 575 based off of these lows and based off of these highs. So that could be a decent area. Let me put that line in there so you guys can get a better sense. And so, why do I put that in there? Well, it was an area of prior support, prior resistance, 2 times support. So we have that line, that trend line. We can put that in if it hits it 2 to 3 times. You can maybe put it in if it hits it twice. Ultimately, I want to see 3+ hits on the trend line before I put it in. So that's a perfect example. We have 1, we have 2, 3. Boom. It works for me, right? So that's why I put that in there. So hopefully that helps in some way. TTCF, let's take a look. TTCF. Tattooed Chef. I talked about it briefly earlier. I'm going to talk about it briefly here again. I want to see it consolidate, let it cool off. These are too big of moves, right? These moves are too big. I want to see the moves kind of shorten up in terms of on the daily chart. Let's see these moves shorten up. That may be signaling the signs of reversal. When we see that, that may be a good spot for an entry. Personally, that's my thoughts. Let's see. Another thing, too, is I'm not going to lie. I want to see the stimulus checks come back, because that's going to fire up the market. I think it's going to fire things up. Good, bad, just you're going to see more volatility. You might, remember how things were back when we had the first round of stimulus checks? Things were hot. The Robinhood traders making this, and this. As much as you can say that that's bad for the market, that's good for the market, it is going to make things more exciting. We're not going to have many dead days. Whether things are going up or down, that heats things up. So that's fun. I want to see that again, because ultimately I want the stimulus checks too, because there's people who really need that money. But at the same time, there's also a decent amount of people too who haven't lost their jobs. Luckily enough, they haven't lost their jobs. They don't need the money, if that makes sense. And so they get the money. And it's like, okay, now what do I do with it? Do I just go buy something, or do I put it in the market? Let's see if we can make this money make me more money, right? And then that's what you're going to get, that next rush of traders or people coming in, which is fun, because for those who have a little more experience, hopefully we can take advantage of the newbies, right? Not in a bad way, but really what you're doing is you're transferring money from someone to somebody else. Ultimately, it's what's happening here in the market. So from the inexperience to the experience, hopefully we have some experience. We can kind of work off of that. Let's take a look. I am using the Webull desktop platform. That's what I am using. There's links down below to get 3 free stocks nowadays. I mean, it's awesome. I even have the hat to prove it. Let me tell you, they sent me this hat. I'm not a hat guy. You probably can tell why, but I liked it. It's not like you're super intense, super great, quick execution type of platform where I'm sure you can get and pay for one, or you can go for a different one. But for what I use it for, it has everything I need. It works for me. It actually went down a couple weeks back for an hour. And of course, I literally made a video going over the platform the day before, how I've never had any issues with it going down. The next day it goes down. But other than that, all brokers go down from time to time. So Nothing recurring as of yet. And they've been upgrading this desktop platform big time lately, so the kinks are being ironed out, and I like it a lot. So let's take a look. ZNGA, let's take a look. This is not a stock that I personally trade, but we'll take a look because, I like looking at this stuff. Why not? As of right now, we don't really have a clear sense of direction. So why? Why is that? Well, in the past, we had a clear sense where we had this uptrend, higher lows coming in, pretty more, and a more accelerated uptrend. And then ever since, we got to this $10, we've just kind of chopped, double top almost in a sense at 10.50, pulled back to 8, came up, and so we don't really have a clear sense of direction. So that's my personal, I'm not a big fan because, okay, there may be fundamentals here that are at play that I'm not taking into account, but based on the chart, we don't have a clear sense of direction. And so, yeah, okay, even though I may not know the fundamentals behind this, I'm not following the stock very closely. And there's too many stocks. Like, I wish I could follow everything. I wish, everyone, but you can't. So you got to just focus in on what you like and what your niche is, right, of what you trade and what you like. But I can just tell that there's just not a clear sense of where we want to go here. So overall, look at the weekly chart, looking back the past couple of, weeks and even years. This is a solid play, a massive, move to the upside longer term, but shorter term, we're just not seeing a clear sense. So that's my thoughts right now. And for those talking about paper trading, options, stuff like that, Webull unfortunately doesn't have options paper trading, which stinks. It has options trading, but not paper trading. So I've asked about it. They said it's coming, but it's been whatever. So that's what I would do. I would recommend paper trading first if you're new. Please, that would be my recommendation, just to see how orders get filled, how stocks move, that type of stuff. Because if you don't, you can get caught in a pretty tough spot. Pretty much generally. Yeah, markets are very choppy right now. So that's the thing. And people want to get in. People want to, but at the same time, market's choppy. It's not easy. I've had a tough time. My swings, this account, if you guys follow the channel, I have a trading stocks to 100,000 series going, starting at 15, trying to get to 100 in a year, and that started a couple weeks back. So I'm up to 16, but ultimately even because I got some free stocks and deposits or whatever. But the day trades they worked this past week for me. Swings were down. So you're just seeing this chop, and I haven't been able to kind of identify it. I think we're going to have to wait till the election to get a better sense as to the direction of stuff and where the sectors are going to be hot. AHPI, let's take a look at that really quick. This is actually a decent play, I think, because it's coming down here. So we're trying to kind of consolidate, but it's coming down. So I would like to see it come down close to this 450. I know it's falling under 5. It's showing some weakness. The overall market's a little weak too. And so the overall penny market, small caps in general, but we can kind of draw on this line right here. So we kind of can see this could be an area that it may try to hold up. Because it was a prior area back here. I know it's small, but prior area we hit up here a couple times. It's also what we're looking at holding up. So I want to see that area hold generally. 450 would probably be my lowest point, and I'd be cutting it personally. Based on the chart. Riot, I actually like this. I'll talk about this one really this too, because we're talking about Bitcoin plays. Riot breaking out of this down on the daily chart. Let me go to my Bitcoin watch list. Let's see what Bitcoin's up to right now. Look at the 1 hour chart on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is starting to perk back on up. It's showing some more strength. So if Bitcoin makes a new high or a relative new high based on this 1 hour chart, then I'm gonna like Riot and I'm gonna like MARA for next week. NXTD, XNet, and then DPW would be my next 3 in that order. So top 2 would be Riot and Mara for day trades, for scalps, for overnight holds, quick little trades if you want it. And then it would be NXTD, XNet, and then DPW in terms of plays, or in terms of stocks that correlate heavily to Bitcoin that can move a lot more than just if Bitcoin goes up 5%, these stocks may go 10, 20% potentially, right? So that's why I like those stocks. So they've been pretty strong. Let's take a look. I know I'm thanks for those in the chat, going back and forth answering questions because I can't get to it all. Appreciate that. I appreciate the support, the donations, you guys. Awesome. So let's take a look. GE bought a call, good idea. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a quick look. So GE was a play that I actually liked a lot back when it was down at these dips, but it's looking like it's trying to push up. So GE could make a decent run, a decent reversal run, and it's trying to, right? But what we're seeing right now is it came up and then it pulled back. So that's it may just be a temporary pullback, and then it may start making a further move on up. I do like it, although a better entry for me would be down to here. But that being said, right, we pushed on up. We got a break. We just barely broke over 8. So I want to see, let's go to the 4-hour chart to get a better sense as to what's been happening like after hours, if we're missing anything after hours. So we hit 803, so we really didn't break over 8. I want to see us open up over 8, hold up over 8. That's what we want to see next for GE. We do that, then we start pushing on up, and then I want to see us, don't worry about this, I think this is just like a glitch. Then we got to break over this 850. That's the next level, 850, which we see right here. And then we break over 850, we start getting into some of these gaps. This could be really good. When we get into some of these gaps, we start pushing on up. So it depends personally on that expiration, I would say, of that call, because it may, if we get an overall market sell-off, that may be just what prohibits your call, but it may ultimately, GE in a couple of weeks, couple of months, may push up, and it may eventually make that move back towards 10, which I would anticipate at some point we see GE move back towards 10. It got crushed at the beginning of the pandemic, and I think that was it got crushed more than it needed to get crushed based on what happened. So we're starting to get a move back to the upside. We had some news as well, so I do like what's going for GE. We have some momentum at least for right now, but we got to break back above these levels. So $8, $8.50, and we get over that, we start getting close to these gaps, and then we can really see the 9, 10 potentially further. So that's what I would like to see with JE. FCL. I played that a couple times. Let me look at the chart. I haven't played it recently, but I got this got me. So I was looking at it again because it came down towards that $2 area, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna grab some, and then it dipped way too far. So I hit my mental stop, and I decided I'm gonna move on. Literally like 3 days later, it pops back up to 275, and I would have had a decent trade. But I was looking for it to hold too. It fell back below, and then it popped up. So it's kind of in this consolidation, doing its thing type of thing. So if you can buy it towards that $2 or even under 2. That looks like a decent buy for a decent move, for a couple weeks or a couple day hold for a move back on up. So it's a great chart if you play the ups and the downs, I think, for FCEL. Overall, we see higher lows, general uptrend developing. So it seems pretty healthy based off where it was a couple months back. I think it's a solid chart. Yeah, I think that there's some good stuff going behind GE. Run up those likes, guys, please. Please, those of you who are only at 52, we got 159 viewers right now. Run up the likes. Appreciate you guys for doing so. We'll go over a couple more things. We'll get this going, and then we'll probably wrap things up, in a little bit. Futures are kind of trying to perk back on up. It is what it is right now. AQST is definitely a buy. Got in around 5. Let's take a look at AQST. This looks like a decent. It's trying to reverse. So it came back down to this 450-ish area, and it's trying to reverse. We're getting to this gap. So break over 550, and then we have a nice gap here. So we have some room. I think that could be a decent play. AQST, I do like it. Over 550, and this could get juicy because we have these wicks here, and we couldn't really 560. Over 560, and it gets juicy. So break over, hold above. That could be a nice play for a nice 30%, 25, 30%. Personally, thanks for hitting the likes, guys. Thanks for running it up. Let's see. GECEO, entire income based on stock price. So of course, for the CEO, there's always incentive, like stuff like that. CRL, basically rejection, new drug. SPPI has a decision due Monday. Let's take a look at the SPPI chart. So it's pulling back, so we're trying to pull back, so it's trying to find, we'll see what happens. This could be a decent, this chart, depending upon what happens, I guess, if they have news coming, right? We break over 520, we're back up in here, and this has some move. I think we looked this one a couple days back, yeah. We looked at it, and we thought, oh, this looks pretty good, based on what it was doing. But then after we looked at it, of course, it's just sold off. So it's pulling back. So we got to, I guess we're going to have to wait for that catalyst, either to send it or to not send it, ultimately, right? Do you think they'll get approved? I don't know. When it comes to a lot of stuff like that, like approvals for, let's say, even like FDA, stuff like that, it's a lot of times you can do as much due diligence. And ONTX was one of those. Let's look at ONTX as a perfect example. Based on like their phase 3 or whatever data. This massive drop down was that. Like, people were so convinced based on what they were talking about in press releases and the CEO, whatever, that they had good data coming. So convinced, or trial, whatever, and then boom, plummet. So that's the risk that you have when you're looking to hold through a catalyst like that, where there's always the risk of it not being good and the stock plummeting. I mean, if you're loading up at $1 average and the stock goes down to like 30 cents, you're getting crushed and you have to be very careful. So if you're in the stock back here, take your profits, and if you feel so confident about the data being good or the catalyst being good, then what I would recommend you do, simply, literally, scale out whatever percentage you're comfortable with, and then hold 25%, 10%, 5% of your position, depending upon your risk tolerance, through that data or through that decision or whatever it is. Right? That's what I would do. If you're so like TBLT, if you're so convinced that it's going to have killer earnings, right, in November. Like, I like it, but if they don't get a PR until then, unfortunately, I'm going to have to scale my position out because I don't want to be in case there's some bad news in that earnings. I don't want to be in there and get caught. I might have 10%, 25% based on how much I can tolerate, right? What I'm willing to lose into the earnings. And if it goes, it goes, right? That's what you kind of want to watch. So that's my thoughts. StockTwits loving TTCF tonight. So it might have a pop tomorrow. I don't know. Let's see. We talked about it a couple times. I've been waiting for it to kind of consolidate more. So we've been seeing these wild swings. I want to see it come down. Maybe if it pops up, it might test this trend line and come back down. So that's my thoughts on TTCF. I want to see it kind of slow down a little bit more. Is GNUS a buy? GNUS. I know people love GNUS. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. It's perking up, though. It came to $1, and this is actually a decent chart. Like, I'm not going to lie. Whether you like GNUS or not, GNUS, the next Cartoon Network, I don't know. No, I don't know. But whether you like it or not, it's perking up, and if it breaks over this 160, it looks like it's starting to make a decent reversal on up. So if there is a good news catalyst coming, when they might, because they actually, I don't know if they've had much news lately. They used to put out a ton of news back here, but not much lately. So if they do put something out, this thing could get a good run because we have bottomed out around $1 and we're reversing back on up. So as much as like you may like it or not, this is not a terrible reversal looking chart. So that is what it is. Let's take a look. Hyliion. I know we got some new viewers on, so I'm going to always, I'll briefly touch on it again. Came down, fell through this line that I had, and now it retested it as prior. This prior support became new resistance, retested it, and is falling back on down. So I would not be surprised to see further drops this week, and I'll be scooping it up for the long term. That's my personal play on Hyliion. So let's see. DPHC will rise when it merges with RIDE tomorrow. Yeah, the ticker change for DPHC to RIDE is happening tomorrow. So you may or may not be able to trade it based on your broker. So actually, I'm going to pull it up really quick. It was up after hours a little bit. I don't know. It's at a decent area that it looks like it may consolidate or find some support in this area. If it comes down a little bit more, it wouldn't be a terrible idea for a dip buy. My thoughts. I like it. But it's kind of in that same space as like SPAC, Hyliion, generally workhorse in a sense. So that whole sector has been pulling back a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised. And this may set the tone for SPAQ. We have the SPAQ decision, the vote date on the 28th, so we'll see how that goes. This may set the tone for that decision, or for how that stock behaves. If this stock pushes up, which it seemed like after hours it started making a move, that could be a good sign. So we're coming down to a spot that I'm anticipating potentially a bounce or something. So I wouldn't be surprised. And this is going to be turning to RIDE, R-I-D-E. That's what we're going to be seeing, I think, tomorrow. I don't think you're going to be able to trade it on Webull if you have Webull. So if you're in it already, don't be surprised if you can't trade it. It takes a day or two for them. Some brokers you can, some you can't. It just kind of depends on the broker. Yeah, UPS, great buy on the dip. All carriers can be slammed. Yeah, I like that. I like the play. I like UPS into the end of the year. I like Walmart as well. I think Walmart really quick. I know a lot of people who are liking Walmart as well. based off of what I'm seeing, I want to see this break out. I think we can get a potential push towards that like 160, 175 by the end of the year for sure, based on everything. But again, we'll see. As of right now, this is a decent trend, potentially holding up for Walmart. So we'll see if that holds up. We'll see. Smash the like button. For those of you who do, I appreciate you. I really do. It really helps out. ZVO earnings the 28th. Let's take a look at that. Let's see what ZVO has got. So what it looks like is an area right around this $4 is trying to hold up as a decent area of support for right now. So that's decent. Wouldn't hold through earnings unless, like I said before, I was talking about how the reasons why you may hold through earnings. If you're so confident on good earnings, hold 10%, hold 25%, whatever you're comfortable in terms of your risk management of a full position or something like that. But I wouldn't recommend it. Like and everyone says that too, but it's just I don't know. Everyone says never hold through earnings. I have never had I've had good experience. I have, but I've also had bad experiences. So limit your risk if you are going to do that. Just make sure you have your risk management in place. And if you ever have an idea, you want to test something out, by no means do you have to go in with a full position. Go in with, 100 shares, or go in with 20 shares, or whatever it is, whatever works for you. One share. I know people who love that idea of teaching how to trade, but one share. You go with one share for the first month. And that's how you do it. Because if you don't want to paper trade, right, you go with you buy one share. Now, some stocks you can't because, certain stocks are restricted. If you buy stocks under $1 on Webull, you have to buy 100 shares. So it's like, okay, but you can trade one share, learn a pattern, play it, learn a strategy based off or test a strategy with one share. And that's a great way to do it. 70 likes. I will not leave the stream until we hit 100 likes. Just not going to do it. And I'm not leaving it. So I know there's 174 viewers on right now, but we can hit 100 likes. I know we can. Walmart is greatness, breakout earnings. Yeah, I think so. They have the Walmart Plus going on too, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff going for Walmart too. SBE, let's take a look at SBE. Switchback energy, yep. So this is my chart for SBE. I looked at it before. It's right at this trend line for me. If it falls below, I don't know. I want to see it hold up. But it's another SPAC play, so we've been seeing SPACs just kind of selling off post-merger, selling off into the merger. It's been up, it's been down. It's just kind of, I don't know. So that's my only concern with SPACs. I think we could probably get better dips, personally. Unless this is one of those that's going to just go. It may. Oh, yeah, CLSK. I know people love CLSK. People have been talking about it as a good longer-term growth play. So, let's see. I kind of have a downtrend in here. Not perfect, but I have a downtrend building. It's in this consolidation mode on a larger scale. So we've seen like some bigger ups and downs. I want to see it put in a higher level. It's trying to reverse here. It's trying to break out of this trend somewhat. Let me extend this line. It's not a perfect line by any means, but it's just a rough area that I'm looking at as potential resistance for right now. So it's trying to get out of it. We'll see. I want to see it get and reclaim $10. $10 is probably like a more just a solid number. 90 likes, guys. 10 more likes. 10 more likes. That's all we got to do. Reclaim $10 is my. That's what I want to see on CLSK. But I'm also, it's on a list that I have. I want to do some more looking into this one because I know people who like it. So I want to see what it's all about before I kind of make some more decisions. I may make a video on it if I do find some things not in it. But that's the thing. That's the other thing too that I want to mention really quick before we talk about some other ones. A lot of the videos that I make, if I talk about a specific stock, some people, you get accused of like, oh, this guy's pumping. There's like some short report out on Workhorse stock. People were pumping. A lot of times, guys, I'm actually not in the stock. I just like to share my thoughts on what's going on. Some of them I am. Like, highly on, I'm in. And I'll let you know. But, it's been dropping since I got it, of course. I have like an average like 25 or 26 or something like that, which is fine for me. I don't really care. But a lot of times I'm not actually in, so it's just I'm literally giving you like an unbiased opinion. And I'm never going to trash someone's stock. I'm never going to be like, oh, I hate that stock. It's going to go to zero. I'll just say, hey, here's the concerns with it right now. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like if I'm not in it. That's just kind of how I'm going to go about it. So I know people who, the short reports, I'm going to do that stuff. ETTX, yeah, I'll talk about that one too. Plug Plug was I wanted to get in Plug a couple days ago, a couple weeks back. Actually, no, not a couple weeks back. I wanted to get in Plug before it made this push, but I didn't. And of course, I missed out on a nice little move from like 15 to 19. But it's coming back on down, so it's trying to find some support here, which actually kind of makes some sense. Horizontal trend line with a couple touches here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a prior area that we're showing some signs of support. So this could be a decent buy around 15 or less. Could be a decent buy. I think that Plug has some potential longer term. It's a funny story on Plug. I had Plug as my one of my first free stocks on Robinhood. I got Plug at like $3 or something like that. It was like back here, and I literally I think I just sold it at like something like up here. I don't know if I shouldn't have sold it, but I think I just sold it because I was like, let me just get out of this and clean up my Robinhood and go into some other stuff. Because my Robinhood is my like longer term investing account. I'll hold cash there. I'll hold longer term investments, longer term swings, and stuff like that. Webull, this is the Webull desktop. This is what I'm using right now. Again, 3 free stocks linked down below. Third time's the charm. Third plug of the hat that Webull sent me. Here you go. I'm not a big hat guy, like I've said, but I use this for more like active stuff. And it's also the account that I do the $15,000 to $100,000 challenge that we have here going on. So it seems like a decent buy, decent support level for Plug. Hyliion, I'm thinking it could potentially go down towards 20 or lower. That's what I'm looking at as a decent entry. ETTX, yep, it dropped through support, and I got out because it fell through support. 175 was my last ditch because I saw 175 as this area right here. I wanted to see it hold $2. That was the first negative sign. And then I wanted, before I added, because I was thinking about adding under 2, but before I added, I said, let me give it another day, because it came down to like 181 or whatever. I gave it one more day to see if it comes down further, and it broke support. So this thing may further drop, or it may recover, and I may get shaked out, and whatever, we're going to do what you're going to do, right? I've been, shaked out, many times on stuff like this. It happens, but personally, I'm not going to be trying to hold this one down and catch the knife and find, new support. I'm just not going to do it. So that's my thoughts. Peloton, absolute beast of a stock. Beast. But it's pulled back, so that's a decent thing. I don't know. I would like to see a bigger pullback for me to get excited about it. It may go again, and if I'm going to play Peloton, I would play the 140 breakout. So it breaks back over 140. Let's say it kind of comes down, consolidates, maybe it comes down further, or it comes back on up, and it starts pushing, makes like a U shape or a V shape, and then breaks the 140. That's where you can play like intraday calls, scalp it for like the upside, scalp that for like a new breakout type of play. That's how I would play it. It's just up too much for me right now just to want to play it personally. I know it may have a lot more to go. Maybe it does, but it's just up a lot. I like something that's a little bit more of a good deal, just in my opinion. And for those who do know, I like playing the pennies, which many people think are terrible deals, but ultimately risk-reward side, that's kind of the stuff that I like, and I've done pretty well, at least of the past year with that stuff. So it works. EPR. Let's take a look. EPR Properties. So it's a REIT. This guy is a REIT. What is their dividend? 38 cents per share. Okay. I like REITs longer term as like beautiful dividend plays. Dividend portfolio, long-term investments, IRA type stuff potentially. That's my thought. Peloton might be a good buy if the election sell off. Yep, that's a good. I think that's where you want to be looking. That's what I'm thinking. Like strong stocks like that have potentially good more upside. Wait for this election to wait for this volatility. If we get a sell off, then just scooping up. I would be scooping up, and those are some great dip buys. Personally, that's what I'm thinking. Because at that point, if we don't get a stimulus, right? If we don't get an agreement, we're going to get that deal. We might get some, of course, the market's probably priced it in and whatever you want to say, right? But I think we can see a decent recovery if we do get a significant dip post-election. So this one, recovering a little bit. This is not a huge mover. I personally don't like commercial real estate like I said like months ago. Right now, but if they're holding up, these are going to be great. These are like some great recovery stocks. Like we get into like the spring, we get a vaccine potentially, we get better news on the virus, stuff like that. these types of stocks, these REITs, are potentially great recovery stocks with a nice fat dividend. That's what I'm going to like. That's like when I talk about some recovery stocks, which we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Because let me tell you, look at this. Let me go to U.S. COVID cases, because this is actually kind of insane. So we hit the new daily record. So like we had the wave 1, calm down, wave 2, wave 3, but we have more testing in place. We hit 85,000 cases in a day. So you may see on the news very, very soon, we just hit 100,000 cases in a day. Testing is at a different level than what it was. So take that with a grain of salt. But again, it's still not a good thing. That's not a good sign. So I want to see that stuff start to slow down. It's probably going to be the spring. That's my thought on recovery plays into the spring and summer of next year. Unfortunately, it stinks, but that's what we got to wait. So 96 likes. Can we get 4 more likes? Can we get 4? Can we hit 100? Can we do it? Multiplan, what's going on? I know. I know. It's just taking a big, and this is like one of the biggest SPACs too, I believe. Taking a pretty big sell-off. The chart's kind of weird. Let me just zoom in a little bit better and get a 4-hour chart up. So we really had the merger and then just plummet. Not fun. It's been just a down. So for me, I honestly don't think it's a terrible longer-term play. Longer term, but ultimately, I haven't looked into this one as much after I sold out of my position, which I didn't catch this dip, but once we popped up after this dip to $9 pre-merger, I sold right before the merger. I took my loss and I moved on. And we've just been getting a big sell-off. So ultimately, there's potentially some signs of consolidation here, but I don't know. We're not really we're not consolidating that well, and we're not really kind of holding up. So give it some time before you potentially look for an entry or before you look for an ad zone. There's that. 102 likes. We did it. Thanks to everybody who hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. Just for those who are potentially new, we do this every Sunday. This is going to be every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're getting up there in terms of the time, but we'll wrap things up soon. Just another flu. Say what you want to say. I'm not going to be the one to get, I have my thoughts, but I'll keep that somewhat to myself on that stuff. I don't want to get caught up in all that. NNDM, GEVO, we talked about really quick. I'll look at that. I'll look at NNDM. GEVO, I want to see it hold $1. It broke this trend, but let's see if we hold $1. That could be a decent area of support. NNDM has been one that we've been talking about a bit. Coming back down, although let's see if we can find a trend here. Is there a potential trend that we can draw from here? Is it going to connect? Is it? No, not really. Let's see. Can we draw one here? Can we draw one here? Boom. We kind of have one there. And look, we have Ricky Gutierrez going live right now. It's funny. I that's how I got started like 2 years ago now. Not how I got started, but like I took his course like 2 years ago to this day. Or to like this time-ish. So this is trying to hold some trend line. I want to see potentially pulling back. It's looking a little bit weak, so let's see if maybe come back to like that 350 area. For NNDM, it's trying to pull back, but I think it has a lot of potential based on what it's been doing. But it's up a lot, since a couple months back. It's up a good amount. So it could use a pullback and then a pullback and go. So let's see. VXRT. Not a huge fan of VXRT, honestly. I think they even had some bad news about it too. They may have something going on too, I recall. But it is reversing. So, okay, based on the chart, right, we see this area right here, similar area, $5 held up. It's reversing off of that 5, so maybe it's trying to make a decent, recovery move. So you could play momentum on that if you want a little bit with a stop loss or a mental stop below 5. 560 is not a terrible, risk reward, I don't think. So could be a decent idea. I'll look at NIO. We haven't looked at that one in a little bit, and then we'll probably wrap things up here, guys, in just a little bit. NIO. So we have this right here. We have this trend line right here coming downtrend for us to make a bigger move to the upside. But I think if the overall market sells off, if the EV sector stays kind of weak like we've been seeing, this may pull back and you can get a better dip buy. I think closer to 25 or even lower 20s could be a better dip buy for NIO. That's my thoughts. WIMI. This one popped a couple times, so it has that kind of history, chart history. But there you go. These are kind of your trend. So you kind of have a decent trend. It's at that trend line. Either it can kind of hold up this level, or it could crack below and fall down to $5, and maybe down below 5 could be a better entry, or around 5 could be a better entry. But that's not a terrible spot. 106 likes. Appreciate every single one of you guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys. This should stay up on the channel so you guys can go back and watch this. I'm going to talk about one other stock here, Grill, Muscle Maker Grill. I know people who like this play for tomorrow as a potential mover. They had news on Friday. So here we go. This is a play that a lot of people have been playing. Tattooed Chef, we've been talking about that one. I want to see it. I want to see it slow down. It's been having these wild swings. Let it slow down a little bit. That's what I've been, I talked about it a couple times here. So let's see. Here's Grill. So we're up at this one, and I know it's a little bit, it's getting up there. 150 was a better buy, right? But let me pull this up. Let me go back to Chrome. Let me go to Muscle Maker Grill. Here it is. Takes over, this is the news from Friday after hours. Takes over franchise-owned restaurant in Manhattan. So the thing of this restaurant is that this is one of the highest volume locations, 1.1 million in revenue last year. So people see that. That could be a good sign. It could be a good thing. And they're looking for, they're looking to take their launch additional concepts of beer and wine. So this could be a play. This type of kind of food delivery type of play, that type of sector, right, could get hot next. So if I had to pick a couple stocks in this sector, if Grill could spark it, it may be WTRH. This could be one that sparks it. My only concern here with WTRH is that it fell below this $3. And I want to see it get back over 3 and hold 3 as a support. That's what I want to see. And then we have Blue Apron. So APRN, I believe, is the other one. And this one's oversold now. It's coming back down. So this could spark as we go back into the fall and winter months. We could see some food delivery plays popping on up. I think these could be some plays that may actually have something to kind of talk about, I think, personally. So these got going back in the beginning of the pandemic. They may get going again. So those are some ideas, at least, that I have. Going down the line, NIO has a battery subscriptions, which is great buy. Yeah, has a huge fall. Yeah, they do. Let's see, CTIB, and then we'll start wrapping things up here, guys. So I know this is a pretty good stream. We hit over 100 likes, 110 likes. Food delivery is 0 profits. I'm just saying that it may heat up. We may get some sympathy plays. CTIB, okay, this is popping up. This had a pretty good run. I don't know. This had some. I would see it want to come back to $2 at least, down under $2. It's a little overextended for me. It filled this kind of U shape, so we see this thing kind of go up to like this $3, and it's kind of filled the U that we have here. So it may just be due for more of kind of a pullback or a cup and handle. We see the cup here. We develop a handle, then a potential move further. So let's get some more history on the chart. So that's my thoughts. Other than that, guys, let's look at the futures, and then I'm going to wrap things up. Futures really quick just to wrap things up. So they're down a little bit more. So they came up and down, and they've been, they were never actually up. Trying to come towards the upside. I know I don't have ad block, sorry. So we're down to 0.5% about. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. Every single Sunday we are doing this live stream, so make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, notifications, all that good stuff. 3 free stocks on Webull. Linked is down below to get those 3 free stocks. I know I have the hat to prove it. This is the Webull desktop platform. If you like the platform that I'm using, you have that. Other than that, guys, we're going to wrap things up, and I will see you guys in the future, probably tomorrow's video. So make sure you're staying tuned for that. We'll see how this week goes. Good luck to everybody in the markets this week. This video should stay up so you can go back and rewatch things. Other than that, though, guys, peace and enjoy the week.